This is The Win, Special Edition Raw, where I share my personal stories of failures and successes as a serial entrepreneur. My views on how to start and grow a business using today's top online marketing and sales strategies. So welcome to The Win, Raw, with me, your host, Heather Havenwood. Are you over 45, 60? Are you relying on the traditional medical field to help you feel great and get you back to a balanced body? Good luck with that. At e2lab.com, Dr. Don Salio got sick of people complaining about bloating, inflammation, and feeling sluggish. He has created unique, potent, and powerful non-pharmaceutical supplements to help the body rebalance, detox, and get back to being healthy. Go to e2lab.com, getting you back to healthy and balanced. Are you a business owner that has a website but not tech savvy? Do you feel like a hostage to your web guy? The better question is, do you have a money funnel so people come to your page and give you money while you sleep? No? Then go watch free video at heathermakesyoumoney.com. Imagine having a money site, not a website, for your self-published book, e-commerce products, local practitioners like chiropractors or lawyers. Get a money site, not a website. Go watch free video at heathermakesyoumoney.com. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Win with Heather Havenwood. So I'm doing something a little bit different today, and I do a Raw with Heather Havenwood once a week. And so it's interesting because this time I'm going to do a live. And I'm not going to look at, so I'm going to do live. So if you're listening to this podcast, welcome to Live with Heather Havenwood, right? So it's really the raw version of my podcast. And I call it the Raw because it's just a solo episode. I don't do any interviews. I don't really do anything else other than just really share my experience. I want to talk about a few things today that have come up in this last week. So first thing is an announcement, and that announcement is about my entrepreneur.com article, which I'm super excited about. And it's interesting about that article because how it came to be and how I reached out to them, and I had to give them a few different ideas. And a lot of the ideas they didn't like. I thought for sure they liked these ideas, and they didn't like the ideas. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they didn't like a lot of the ideas that I put out there. But how I reached out to, literally it was like a cold call. It was pretty much a cold call to entrepreneur.com. I got passed around a couple times, and I got to an editor, and I just had a conversation with her about my intention and what I wanted to do as an as a contributor for entrepreneur.com. So I sent her a few ideas. I thought for sure she would love all of them, and she didn't. So I had to come back with a couple more. She picked one she liked, and which was interesting because I didn't think that was the one that she would go with, right? So anyway, I decided to go with what she wanted, and I put it out there. And so I created my first article with entrepreneur.com. It's the first time I've ever done something like that. Super excited. You're welcome to go check it out. I don't have like the exact URL because it's like a number to it, but you go to entrepreneur.com and click. You can actually, I think you search my name, Heather Havenwood, and it comes up. So that's kind of fun. Or you can go to my Twitter page at @HHavenwood, and you can see all the people that have been sharing it, which is even more fun. I've seen all these people actually share my article, which is just kind of super cool. So I just want to share that with everybody. Again, what you're listening to is Raw with Heather Havenwood on my podcast, and I'm also doing this Facebook streaming live. I'm going to be doing that every couple days before I actually post my Raw. So if you're a podcast subscriber, you'll be getting this every Monday, which is my Raw. If you're on one of my networks, you usually get it on Monday as well, which is again the Raw solo episode. But if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, then you get it a couple days in advance. So that's the advantage of going to Facebook Live and doing that. So the other thing I want to talk to you about today is I call it Millennials versus Gen Xers. And I had a great conversation with a couple people the last few weeks, but I had it really with my coach. And we had a deep conversation about this today. And if you're a Gen Xer, you'll really understand this. And if you're a millennial, you may or may not understand it. So I'm a Gen Xer. I'm not a millennial, and I'm not a baby boomer. So a couple of things you know about Gen Xers. We're right now in our early 40s. Most of us have kids. We most likely were raised by the first section of the baby boomers. Most of us have kids that are millennials. The other thing about the Gen Xers is we are middle, like 40s middle management. And some of the things I think that a lot of Gen Xers were taught very young, or, taught growing up in a career, which is wait your turn. The people in front of you are the leaders, which they still freaking are, because baby boomers haven't died off as fast. There's a lot of them. So there's a ton of people that are like controlling a lot of things that are still baby boomers. And the people behind them, the Gen Xers, are been like waiting. We're not allowed to go grab it. We haven't really been this rebellious kind of generation because we were taught to wait our turn. We were taught to fall in line, wait your turn. You'll always be middle management until the other ones die off. And now we're in our 40s going, these guys aren't ever going to die off, or they're taking their sweet time. And now the focus of the marketing has been baby boomer, how to sell to baby boomers, how to talk to baby boomers, how to market to baby boomers, all these things. Now it's millennials. And I was talking to a few friends of mine who are Gen Xers, and we were kind of giggling in a way, saying we were left out. We were kind of like skipped over, because the baby boomers are now talking about how the millennials are the next leaders. And we're over here going, we've been waiting in line for 20 years, dudes. So it's been an interesting thing. But here's what I notice on a bigger scale, on a generational level. The baby boomers were rebels in so many ways, right? Through the 60s and the 70s, their civil rights, they really went out and grabbed it. Like they were taught that they have to go out there and grab it. If not, they're not going to make it, So they were a lot of huge innovation, breaking through tons of different political views, right? In the 60s and 70s and even 80s, 90s, they led that march because they wanted their children, a lot of them are Gen Xers, to have a great life. And now, which I think is interesting, is now they're focused a ton on the millennials, and they're kind of taking they're relaxing a little bit. The challenge is the late baby boomers, there's like two sections, are in their 50s and 60s right now, right? And they've kind of gotten a little soft, I think. And what I think is interesting right now is I think it's time. Here's what I think. I think it's the time for the Gen Xers to go out and grab it. We were not taught to go out and grab it. And that is something that I think I can learn a lot from the millennials, is that they have this like, get out of my way, I'm going to go grab it. And I have been kind of sitting back a lot because I was told literally in my teens to was respect your elders, wait your turn. When they day off, then you get to lead. And they're kind of passing the torch beyond the Gen Xers. So it's an interesting deal. And I was talking to someone today that we're in great conversation with, that he focuses on content for the companies, like big companies, like big companies, in training and development for millennials. And we had this conversation this morning about what they're looking for, what kind of training they're needing, and how by the way, he's a Gen Xer too, so we had this great conversation about how it's all been about the baby boomers, and they're still running the show. And then all this middle management is Gen Xers, and then they're kind of like focusing on all the training and development of the millennials. And he talked about how the differences nowadays with the millennials of how much change is happening, how much they are rebelling, really. They're rebelling, and they're forcing companies to pay attention to them. And there's a huge lesson there for my generation, I think in our 40s, where, by the way, most of people in our 40s have kids who are Gen Xers or a little bit younger. And we were a little bit more complacent. So here's what I say to anybody who's in their 40s who feels like they've been over, the Gen Xers. It's time for you to go out and grab it. It really is time for you to go out and get what you want and not wait for permission. Number one thing I deal with entrepreneurs is them waiting for permission. Like they're waiting for somebody to tell them, you are now sanctioned. You are now okay. You are now allowed, you are now certified to go after what you want in life. You're now allowed to create the business that you so desire. You've been kind of waiting for someone to give you permission. And I find it more so in the Gen Xer mentality, because it was kind of the mentality that they were brought into. It's not I'm not saying it's a victimizing. It's just like an understanding of the conversations that they were brought into, especially more so with women than men, way more than women. Women are constantly in a certain age frame that they're waiting for permission. They're waiting for someone to say, it's okay now to go after what you want. And I'm here as a podcast, as a national syndicated radio, as now in Country Entrepreneur Magazine. Why am I doing all this? Why am I trying to be so loud? It's because I'm finally kind of waking up to, it's now my time to go grab it. And I can't wait around for the other generation to kind of die off or pass the torch. There is no passing the torch anymore. It's no longer about waiting your turn. It's about going after what you want now, no matter what your age is, no matter what your generation is. It's literally your time. So I think it's a great point as an entrepreneur to business owner, solo entrepreneur, salesperson, is not waiting for permission from anyone, any person, any organization to go after what you want. And, I was sharing this a little bit too with my my sister. I don't even know if she listens, but with my sister. And she's going through an interesting time right now. She's back in the what do you call it? The looking for a new position. What's next for her in the corporate world? And I was telling her, I was like, you're still with that mentality right now that that it's a buyer's market. It's no longer a buyer's market. If you're out there in the court looking for a position, like a high level executive position, which she is, you are in a very interesting place. You're in a seller's market, right? So what does that mean? A seller's market in real estate is if you have a house and it's a seller's market, you can pretty much ask 10, 20% over appraisal, right? Or you're going to have multiple offers, things like that. And in today's world in corporate America, if you're out there looking for a new position and you're a leader, you're truly in a seller's market. And I was trying to explain that to her, that things have flipped. The person who's looking for a job that is highly qualified, trained, who's coachable, and an amazing leader, and they're willing to go out there and grab it, they can write their own check. Because there's so many companies out there who are literally dying for people to be leaders. They're dying for people to step up. They're dying for people to go take it. And that's why all the attention is on the millennials, because they have that particular attitude. So I just kind of want to, share that today in the podcast. And I want you to really look at your own psychology as a business person, as an entrepreneur. Is like, where in my life have I waited for permission? Where in my life have I waited for someone to give me the okay, or when I get enough information, then I will. And I just encourage you to let all that crap go. Just let it freaking go, because it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your business. It doesn't serve what you said you wanted to have. It doesn't serve your financial checkbook. It doesn't serve. It just doesn't. So go after what you want. And yeah, that's what this whole thing is about. And the last thing I want to talk to you about on today's Raw episode of Heather Havenwood is prejudgments and assessments. And again, I share with you lots of things that I'm going through personally, that I have paid money for my coach to deal with me. So I'm literally giving you my coaching sessions on this podcast or on this live. And this last one is called, basically about prejudgments and assessments. And something that I noticed, well, I didn't notice, my coach noticed it and brought it to my attention. And that is, I have a lot of judgments and assessments based on my quote unquote history in my career. Is that something happens to me? We all did this. Something happens, and then we make a judgment assessment on that thing. And then we move on. So one of the judgments and assessments I have, and I started to be aware of this, is on network marketing, right? So if someone reaches out to me and they tell me they're doing network marketing, I had this big, get away from me, do not talk to me, I'm blocking you on all communication. I was like, okay, that's a judgment assessment. I totally do that. The other judgment assessment I noticed is, or she noticed and brought it to me, was how much I had a judgment assessment at corporate America, corporate. and that I don't belong there. I had this whole judgment system. I don't belong there. I'll never go in that space. I'll never serve that space. It's not my client. And she just wanted me to notice, my coach, to notice how much I just cut all that off, and how much I'm cutting off. I'm cutting off huge amounts of opportunity. So I took her coaching, and I really was like, okay, well, maybe I'll look at that and let that go a little bit. Within the next day, which happens to be today, I had this great conversation with the gentleman. And I'm not sure where it's going to go. It just doesn't really matter. I mean, in fact, we were laughing because when him and I got on the phone today, we had an appointment. He doesn't remember how it happened, and I don't remember how it happened. Like, we couldn't figure out how we actually got on the phone together. But here we are. And I said, well, while we're here, what do you do? And what he does is takes content and puts it into an environment where it sells to large companies, Accenture, Google, Facebook, whatever, large, big companies, technology companies, construction companies, whatever kind of companies, and takes it in such a way that it can be sold to and for training and development for large companies. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting, because I've been so blocked in that area. Tell me what that. I started to open myself up and started to ask the questions. Well, tell me what's going on with that particular view right now. What's going on in that world? I don't know that world, but I allowed myself to be open up to it. And we had a great conversation, and I started to laugh and giggle to myself because I thought, wow, if I had not let all that old judgment assessment go, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be on this conversation. And who knows where it's going to go with him and I. We're just still meet and greeting. We're still talking. We're actually scheduling a call next week to figure out, I don't know, maybe because I come from a different set. I come from sales, really hardcore sales, but my own way, my own sexy boss way in teaching sales, communicating sales, doing sales. And I shared with him today, I said, it's interesting. People hire me lots of times for coaching, for marketing. And it always comes back down to two things: their own personal confidence and their own sales skills. And I always work with them on sales and confidence. That's where I end up always coaching them, but they come to me because they want more clients and they want more marketing. And he goes, of course, that makes sense. So I said, well, is there an opportunity, again, old paradigm, is there an opportunity for females to be teaching sales in big companies? And he goes, yes, of course. And I thought to myself, I didn't think so. Because again, when I was in corporate America in the last couple of years, every person that I ran across that was in sales were what I call white men in the Navy coat and tie. And I had this look, Dale Carnegie. This is just a lot of the old paradigm. And he said to me, no, that's completely changing, Heather. In fact, I have way more demand than I have people, And so anyway, this is where the conversation's going with him and I, where I'm excited about what's going to happen. And so my show today, if you notice, if you really listen, is about you and letting go of your old paradigms of this is how it was, this is how it's always going to be. It's like, what if you just let all that go? Well, your dad told you, so therefore it must be 20 years ago. Or I had a situation that happened 10 years ago, so that's how it's always going to go. Why? What is that? What about us as human beings that have to hold on so much to our paradigms that we have to literally make them true? What if you said, well, I didn't do well in network marketing, and I don't know, maybe it's what's next for me. What if you did that, or something else, whatever that is for you? And I just encourage you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, to figuring out what's next for you, to let go of your own paradigms and your old judgments and assessments on people, on relationships, on whatever, on opportunities and business opportunities, being a partner, and allow yourself to be unblocked. And if you're a Gen Xer out there, my huge recommendation to you is to notice how you're have been waiting for permission, or waiting for someone to die off, or waiting your turn. Well, here's the thing, the clock is ticking. And now is the time 100% to go after whatever it is you want and be the person you are. So this is Heather Havenwood with the Raw You can check me out at heatherhavenwood.com/podcast. And I want to shout out to our sponsors, e2lab.com. If you detox your body, you get to rebalance your life. And ClickFunnels is also our sponsor. ClickFunnels is an amazing software program that completely helps you make more money online by doing amazing funnels through Russell Brunson. And our last sponsor is Thinkific. Thinkific is designed for coaches. It's designed for speakers, authors, and coaches to create amazing products and make it really simple so you can focus on what matters most, which is the content and marketing. All right, everyone. This is Heather Havenwood with The Raw, and I'll see you next time. Check me out at heatherhavenwood.com. Have you wanted to stop swapping your time for money? Ever wanted to leverage your expertise by selling your knowledge to hundreds of people? I call that smart. And now you can easily and effortlessly, without a web guy, create memberships, online courses, coaching programs. Go to heatherhavenwood.com/thinkific. Start making money off what you know today. Go to heatherhavenwood.com/thinkific. Our whole world revolves around our smartphones now. You know, they say we look at our phones on an average of 150 times a day or more. Look, if you're a small business and want to grow, you need to reach people where they're looking the most. Their smartphones. So text the word START to 72,000 now to learn more from our friends at Mobit, or go to heatherhavenwood.com/Mobit. Again, text the word START to 72,000 now.